What makes a villain? Is it their actions, their motives, or simply the defiance of society's rules? Sometimes, the most fascinating villains are those whose intentions, while controversial, are rooted in genuine beliefs about how to make the world a better place. In anime, we often encounter characters who go against societal norms, not out of sheer malice, but because they see flaws and corruptions within those very systems. However, society doesn't usually embrace change through chaos or upheaval. Instead, it often views those who rebel as threats to stability, regardless of their ideals. In today's video, we're going to dive into 3 characters who exemplify this complexity. Stain from My Hero Academia, Shogo Makishima from Psycho Pass, and Lelouch from Code Geass. These aren't your typical villains. Each of them seeks to change their world in a way that they believe is just, and each pays a high price for it. They're branded as criminals, feared by the public, and hunted by their societies, even though their intentions are often deeply idealistic. With Stain, we have a character who wants to remind people of the true meaning of heroism in a world where fame and money have corrupted it. Makishima, on the other hand, challenges a society built on control and conformity, urging people to embrace their humanity, even if that means embracing chaos. And then there's Lelouch, a complex anti-hero who becomes a revolutionary leader, battling an empire in a morally ambiguous quest for liberation. As we explore these characters, we'll consider how anime uses them to question the very nature of morality, rebellion, and what it means to defy societal norms. We'll dig into what these stories say about the dangers of blind conformity and the cost of challenging corrupt systems. By looking at these characters through the lens of their intentions, we're invited to ask ourselves, can rebellion be a force for good, even if society says otherwise? And at what point does the pursuit of justice, freedom, or truth become worth any cost? And before we move on with the video, please remember to subscribe and like. It really does help. And if there's any topics you want me to explore, let me know in the comments. Now let's get on with the video. Stain, the hero killer from My Hero Academia, stands out as a villain because his actions aren't motivated by personal gain, revenge, or a thirst for power, but rather by an unwavering belief in what heroism should mean. In a world filled with pro-heroes, figures revered by the public, and held up as the ultimate moral compass, Stain sees through what he believes is a facade. To him, many heroes lack the true virtues of courage, integrity, and selflessness that should define their role. The essence of Stain's motivations is his disillusionment with a system that has commercialized heroism and turned it into a profitable industry, prioritizing fame and fortune over true altruism. His character highlights that sometimes what society celebrates as good can be hollow at its core. Stain's philosophy is both extreme and uncompromising, grounded in a black and white view of what's right and wrong. He believes that only heroes who embody self-sacrifice and unwavering dedication deserve to wear the title, and he is willing to go to deadly lengths to purge those he deems unworthy. In his eyes, heroes are not supposed to be celebrities or brand ambassadors. They're meant to be symbols of hope and protection. When he encounters heroes who are more concerned with image or financial gain, Stain views them as betrayers of the very essence of heroism. This intense disdain for false heroes leads him to attack and in many cases kill them in his quest to restore what he sees as a true ideal of a hero. In real life, we can find parallels in people who challenge established systems or speak out against perceived corruptions in their fields. From corporate whistleblowers to activists fighting against systematic issues, there are those who feel compelled to disrupt the status quo, often at great personal risks. Like Stain, these individuals are often motivated by a belief that they're standing up for what's right, even if their methods or perspectives might clash with mainstream values. Stain's story forces us to question what we value in our leaders and role models, and whether those in positions of influence truly live up to the ideals they represent. However, Stain's methods are deeply flawed and border on fanaticism. His approach is extreme, and his judgment is final. He makes no allowance for grey areas. In this world, a hero either lives up to the ideal he cherishes, or are undeserving of the title and must be eliminated. This uncompromising stance serves as both a strength and a cautionary tale. While Stain's convictions make him formidable, they also blind him to the complexities of the individuals he judges. In his quest to purify hero society, he overlooks the fact that even the most committed heroes can have personal flaws or desires. His belief system, however noble in intent, lacks compassion and nuance. By taking justice into his own hands, he positions himself as judge, jury, and executioner, a dangerous combination that often crosses the lines from righteous indignation to violent extremism. Interestingly, Stain's philosophies is not without influence. Though society condemns him as a villain, his ideology has a lasting impact on both heroes and civilians. Characters like Deku and Todoroki are challenged by Stain's words, even if they reject his violent methods. Stain's conviction forces them to ask themselves why they chose a path of heroism, and what kind of heroes they want to become. This is a significant moment in My Hero Academia, as it shows that even those we see as villains can sometimes act as catalysts for self-reflection and growth. path. For Midoriya, Todoroki, and other young heroes, Stain's message serves as a reminder to stay true to their purpose and not let the system's flaws diminish their ideals. Stain's impact even extends to characters like Ida, who is initially driven to seek vengeance against Stain for injuring his brother, who is a pro-hero. However, through his confrontation with Stain, Ida learns that heroism isn't about personal vendettas or self-satisfaction, but about a commitment to protecting others. Stain's rigid code ultimately inspires some heroes to rediscover what heroism should mean, even if they reject his violent means of enforcing that standard. In a broader sense, Stain's story suggests that people who challenge the system, even if they go about it in controversial ways, can still inspire change and critical thinking among those within it. In our own lives, Stain's character raises a question about our own values and the systems we depend on. How often do we accept things at face value, idolizing people in positions of power or influence without questioning their motives or actions? In many industries, be it politics, entertainment, or even public service, there are individuals who, like the false heroes Stain despises, may be more interested in fame and profit than in fulfilling their roles with integrity. Stain's perspective, however extreme, invites us to look closer at the people we hold up as role models or heroes. It challenges us to consider whether they live up to the values they promote, or if their actions are motivated by personal gain. Stain's character also touches on the theme of radical reform. His goal is not just to call out the flaws of hero society, he wants to completely uproot it. In his mind, only by purging those he considers false can society be restored to its true ideals. But this approach raises complex moral questions. While his intentions might seem noble, seeking a world where heroes are truly selfless, his methods reveal the dangers of extreme ideologies. By resorting to violence, he undermines the very values he claims to uphold, showing us that the potential for even the most principled beliefs to become destructive when taken to the extremes. In the end, Stain is a character who leaves a lasting impression, both within the world of My Hero Academia and in the mind of its audience. His story reminds us that change often comes from those who are willing to challenge established norms and call out flaws within powerful institutions, but also serves as a cautionary tale about the importance of balance and empathy in pursuing change. While it's natural to be frustrated with systems that seem corrupt or hypocritical, Stain's approach reveals the dangers of imposing one's ideals through force. True reform, he suggests, requires a commitment to one's principles, but also demands an understanding of human complexity and compassion for others. Ultimately, Stain forces the hero society and us as viewers to confront difficult questions. What does it really mean to be a hero? Can you change a broken system from within, or must it be torn down and rebuilt? And at what cost do we pursue our ideals? Stain's character reminds us that rebellion and reform, while sometimes necessary, must be tempered with respect for the humanity in others, lest we lose sight of the values we seek to uphold. His presence in My Hero Academia adds a layer of depth to the concept of heroism, challenging both the heroes in his world and the audience to think critically about what it means to truly embody virtue. Shogo Makishima from Psycho Pass is a complex character whose motives go beyond villainy, challenging a society deeply rooted in control and regulation by technology. The world he lives in is governed by the Sybil system, a sophisticated AI network that monitors and predicts each citizen's likelihood of committing crimes. For Makishima, this controlled reality strips humanity of its essence, the freedom to choose, act, and feel authentically. His rebellion against Sybil isn't simply an act of violence or destruction, it's a philosophical stance. He believes true humanity cannot exist in a world without free will, where everyone is essentially bound to act within what's deemed as acceptable by a system that lacks understanding, empathy, and moral context. Makishima forces us to consider the dangers of sacrificing freedom for order, a conflict that speaks volumes about the ethical and psychological dimensions of society's relationship with technology today. In the world of Psycho Pass, citizens are judged not by their actions, but by their crime coefficient, a predictive score based on the mental state and tendencies which supposedly indicates their likelihood of committing a crime. This futuristic surveillance system is meant to create a safer society, but instead renders people powerless under a scrutinizing gaze, reducing them to data points. In our own world, while not as advanced as Sybil, we live in a society that leans heavily on technology for surveillance, justification, and even justice. Data-driven decisions influence everything from targeted ads to government monitoring. Governments and corporations often tout data tracking as necessary for security, but this comfort comes with a price: the erosion of autonomy and privacy. Much like the Sybil system, our own societal reliance on surveillance gradually reduces individuals to measurable statistics, rather than acknowledging the complexity of human lives. In this context, Makishima's challenge to Sybil feels eerily relevant. His rebellion is a call for human agency in a world where technology is edging dangerously close to stripping it away entirely. Makishima's actions also expose the flaw in the mechanized approach to morality and justice. The Sibyl system operates as the ultimate judge, jury, and executioner, but its decisions are devoid of empathy, understanding, and moral considerations essential to true justice. Morality is more than just a set of rigid rules, and attempting to confine it to algorithmic judgment strips it of its humanistic essence. By waging war against Sibyl, Makishima raises a disturbing question. Can a society truly be moral if the ability to choose, grow, and empathize is taken away? In our real-world lives, algorithms now play a significant role in decision-making processes, from law enforcement to job selection. Though they improve efficiency, these systems lack the ability to interpret human nuance, complexity, and emotion. Quality is central to moral understanding. Like Makishima, we are faced with the question of how much should we allow technology to guide our lives before it starts to detract from the very essence of what it means to be human. Makishima also challenges Sibyl's suppression of individuality, an issue that resonates with anyone who has felt pressured to conform. The Sibyl-controlled society rewards those who comply, and anyone with a high crime coefficient, even if they're innocent, is treated as a potential criminal. Individuality, under Sibyl, is practically a liability. Makishima, however, values the unique quirks, talents, and even struggles that make people distinct. This sense of identity is central to the human's experience, and in opposing Sibyl, Makishima becomes a champion for those who refuse to sacrifice their individuality in the face of societal pressure. This mirrors real-life struggles, as people frequently confront social expectations that demand conformity. Whether it's in the workplace, within family dynamics, or in broader society, many individuals feel compelled to hide parts of themselves to fit a mold. Makishima's rebellion speaks to anyone who has felt the strain of conforming, reminding us the importance of celebrating and embracing our differences, even if society may not always approve. Authority and control are also integral to Makishima's philosophy. The Sibyl system's all-encompassing authority denies citizens the chance to learn from mistakes, offering them a superficially safe society that is devoid of true autonomy. In Makishima's view, this is not safety but oppression, a shallow peace that silences human potential. This notion reflects countless historical and modern-day revolutions where citizens have fought against systems that prioritize control over individual freedom. While Makishima's approach to resistance is certainly extreme, his ideals mirror the struggles of many real-world movements, where a thirst for freedom and the right to self-determination has often led individuals to question or even overthrow systems of control. His journey warns us of the dangers of blind obedience to authority, urging us to consider the value of a society where autonomy is balanced with accountability. Makishima's fight against Sibyl also draws attention to the ethical dilemmas of living in a world so dependent on technology. In Sibyl's society, citizens are practically subservient to a computer system. Sibyl decides who's worthy, who is a threat, and who must be rehabilitated or eliminated, all based on a psychological metric that lacks emotion or contextual nuance. Makishima's rebellion in this sense is a warning against the overreach of technology in decision-making processes that affect human lives. Real-world parallels are evident in modern debates over privacy, artificial intelligence, and the role of surveillance. Today we are increasingly aware of the digital footprint we leave behind, and there's growing concern over how this information is used. As we move towards a world where AI and algorithms shape more aspects of life, Makishima's defiance becomes a powerful reminder of the potential consequences of losing control over our personal information and autonomy. Beyond his philosophical opposition, Makishima's story brings up the importance of moral integrity and compassion in the face of advancing authority. He views the Sibyl system as a mechanized trap, one that robs citizens of its right to struggle, fail, and ultimately grow as human beings. In his views, mistakes are an essential part of self-discovery and personal development, yet Sibyl denies citizens this fundamental experience. This perspective is powerful, reminding us that failure, as uncomfortable as it may be, is one of the most meaningful ways we learn about ourselves. Real-life application of this idea can be seen in the increasing pressure for perfectionism in society, from academic and professional expectations to social media portrayals of our idealized lives. The fear of failure often leads people to suppress their true selves or take fewer risks. Makishima's character warns against this type of societal conditioning, encouraging us to embrace mistakes and learn from them instead of fearing or avoiding them. Ultimately, Makishima's struggle is not simply a rebellion against Sibyl, but a fight for what he sees as a return to authentic humanity. He becomes a tragic figure whose death serves as a harsh reminder of the cost of resisting such a deeply embedded system. However, his legacy lingers, serving as a symbol of resistance against a society that has traded freedom and individual experience for order and control. He teaches us that even in a world that values conformity, individuality and self-determination are worth fighting for. In the end, Makishima's story compels us to question our relationship with authority, technology, and societal expectations. It serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of allowing technology to dictate our lives, and it challenges us to consider the true meaning of justice and morality in a world increasingly increasingly shaped by artificial systems. His legacy is a reminder that humanity thrives on its ability to make choices, to err, to experience joy and pain, and to grow from each experience. Lelouch v Britannia from Code Geass exemplifies a fascinating mix of heroism and villainy, representing the intense struggle between ideals, power, and sacrifice. His story embodies a struggle to create a better world while grappling with the cost of his ambitions. As Zero, the masked leader of a rebellion against the oppressive Britannian Empire, Lelouch raises complex questions about justice, leadership, and the delicate balance between heroism and tyranny. Through examining Lelouch's character, we uncover ethical and psychological dilemmas about leadership and activism that resonates with real-world scenarios, urging us to confront the costs and consequences of our choices. Lelouch's journey from an exiled prince seeking revenge to a revolutionary for global peace is intensely personal, yet ultimately evolves into something greater. Initially, he seeks to destroy Britannia to avenge the suffering inflicted on his sister Nunnally, but as he delves deeper into his rebellion, Lelouch's motives shift, and he faces new moral quandaries, including personal sacrifices that come with leading a movement. His struggles are relatable, particularly for anyone who has taken on a leadership role or felt compelled to create change, only to encounter complexities far beyond their initial expectations. In many ways, his journey reflects our own when we're driven to bring about meaningful change in personal or social realms, only to be confronted by the harsh reality of balancing ideals with practical, often painful decisions. The Mask of Zero allows Lelouch to transform himself into a symbol, detaching from his personal life to embody the hope of the oppressed. This reflects the idea that leaders often adopt personas that represent ideals larger than themselves, becoming symbols of movements rather than just individuals. Like many real-world figures, activists, leaders, and public figures who bear heavy expectations, Lelouch becomes defined by his role, taking on an identity that ultimately isolates him. For Lelouch, this duality creates a profound psychological burden. He sacrifices personal connections and his humanity, mirroring the expectations of those who bear the weight of responsibility for large-scale change and endure isolation for the cause. Lelouch's ethical dilemmas, especially his ends justify the means approach, are central to his story. Throughout Code Geass, he manipulates allies and sacrifices innocence, using any means necessary to achieve his vision. This aspect of his character raises a difficult question of whether noble goals can ever justify unethical actions. The cost of Lelouch's methods serves as a reminder of the complexity inherent in striving for meaningful change, especially when dealing with entrenched power structures. His journey invites us to consider the limits of morality in challenging systematic oppression, and while his decisions are extreme, they mirror real-world scenarios where difficult choices are often made in the pursuit of justice. The power of Geass, a command over others' will, is a potent symbol of the dangers of unchecked authority. While initially cautious, Lelouch becomes increasingly dependent on it, eventually facing the corrupting effects of absolute power. This exploration of power reflects how real-world leaders and organizations can stray from original ideals, becoming instruments of control rather than forces for good. Power is seductive, and Lelouch's reliance on it serves as a cautionary tale for anyone who wields authority, a reminder of how easy it can be to lose sight of noble intentions. Through charisma, strategic vision, and determination, Lelouch unites people from diverse backgrounds under a common cause, transforming Zero into a powerful symbol of hope and resistance. However, this coalition is fragile, built on faith in Zero rather than in Lelouch as a person. This dynamic mirrors the real world, where leaders often rally people around causes by uniting them under a shared ideal. Political and social movements commonly rely on the strength of a shared vision, which can hold people together even when personal beliefs diverge. Just as Lelouch's rebellion rests on the image of Zero, real-life movements can often depend on charismatic symbols or figures to sustain momentum, which can lead to instability if those symbols falter or the leader's true nature is exposed. Lelouch's complex relationship with Suzaku, his former friend and moral opposite, adds depth to the story's philosophical exploration of reform versus revolution. Suzaku believes in working within the system to change it, standing in stark contrast to Lelouch's more radical tactics. Their opposing ideologies reflect ongoing debates in the real world about whether meaningful change can be achieved by adhering to established rules, or if systematic transformation requires breaking those rules altogether. This ideological conflict reveals the nuanced nature of social change, emphasizing that both approaches, gradual reform and outright rebellion, carry unique strengths and drawbacks. In the climactic end to Lelouch's journey, he orchestrates his own death in a sacrificial act, positioning himself as a global enemy to unite the world in opposition to him. By embracing the role of a necessary evil, Lelouch illustrates the profound cost of peace and stability, posing a stark question about the sacrifices leaders often make for the greater good. His decision echoes real-world leaders and activists who have made personal sacrifices for their ideals, though few go so far as to orchestrate their downfall. Lelouch's self-sacrifice is a powerful metaphor for the struggles of those who bear the burden of leadership, serving as a reminder of the weight of responsibility that comes with enacting meaningful change. Finally, Lelouch's legacy is a profound theme in his story, encapsulating the idea that a person's impact can endure far beyond their life. His actions permanently alter the world he fought against, leaving a lasting legacy that transcends the ethical ambiguities of his journey. In real life, the desire to leave a lasting impact is universal. We all are, in some way, striving to create something meaningful, to contribute to a legacy that will endure beyond us. Lelouch's story illustrates both the inspiration and caution that comes with that ambition, showing that the paths we choose, even those fraught with moral compromise, can shape our legacy in ways we may never fully understand. In conclusion, Lelouch's story in Code Geass is a complex exploration of morality, leadership, and the sacrifices necessary for transformative change. His character raises questions about justice, ambition, and the cost of rebellion, revealing the depth of responsibility that comes with leading a movement and the ethical challenges that accompany it. Lelouch forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about the pursuit of ideals, the struggle between reform and revolution, and the complexities of real-world change. Through Lelouch's journey, we are reminded of the ethical struggles and the immense power that can reside within an individual's decisions, inspiring us to reflect on our own lives, ambitions, and the impact we hope to have on the world. As we wrap up talking about the three compelling characters we've explored today, Stain, Makishima, and Lelouch, each of them pushes the boundaries between heroism and villainy, standing up against societal norms and injustices in ways that blur ethical lines. Stain from My Hero Academia fights to cleanse the hero society of corruption, driven by his conviction that only true heroes should be worthy of admiration. Shogo Makishima from Psycho-Pass opposes a system that strips humanity of freedom, believing that a life without autonomy to choose, even to choose wrongly, is no life at all. Lelouch from Code Geass, through his complex journey as Zero, takes on the world's hatred to create a future of peace, ultimately sacrificing himself to make that vision a reality. However, for all that I've said about these characters and their noble acts, do I think they're good people? Hell no. These three are villains through and through. They are manipulators, murderers, and terrorists. They are bad people, but they are bad people with good intentions. It is their actions that ultimately make them evil. These characters remind us that challenging the status quo, though noble, is never simple. Their stories bring to life the harsh realities of rebellion and the sacrifices required to pursue change in deeply flawed systems. And though our world may not have superpowers, omnipresent surveillance, or empires at war, the themes of moral complexity, resistance, and sacrifice resonate universally. Ultimately, these anti-heroes, heroes, villains, inspire us to think critically about our own beliefs, ideals, and the courage it takes to stand by them. Their journeys encourage us to ask questions, challenge systems, and reflect on the moral compromises we might face when striving for something better. We have to stand by the ideals we want to make into a reality, and we cannot idly wait for them to do so. We need to take action, but we need to make sure the action we take is done in the correct manner, lest we follow the same paths as the characters explored today.